This is the gospel according to the IRS, Breaking Points and Church Financial Updates. And now, here's the authority, Dr. Michael Chitwood and Breaking Points.
Michael Chitwood, thank you for joining us today on Breaking Points and Financial Updates. This is the gospel according to the IRS. Thank you so much for being a part of Breaking Points. We are reaching literally thousands of people with this important, updated, daily information. And we're glad that you're a part and networked with the Chitwood & Chitwood Clergy, Tax, and Law organization. As we were talking about yesterday on the Breaking Points and the Impact segment, we were talking about the corporate minute book and what goes in it. We covered several things, but today I'd like to take step 3. Step number 3, please make a note, and this continues on the paper there that you have for your corporate minute book, your legal minute book, your corporate minute book. Number 3, we want to talk about housing allowance. Housing allowance is under Section 107. Now, I'm not going to discuss the 12 things that go into housing allowance. We've already done that. I'm talking about the minute book and the housing allowance minutes. We know that you have to designate the housing allowance for the minister of the gospel at the beginning of each year in the minute book. The law says that if it's not designated at the beginning of each year, and that's a calendar year, by the way, not a fiscal year, then it will be disallowed and go into income. Now, the whole purpose of housing allowance is to make it tax-free, not taxable, but tax-free. In this aspect, it's important for you to realize that if it's not designated in the minute book, then it will not be deemed or considered to be housing allowance. And for those of you that have the Clergy, Tax, and Law National Workbook or Notebook Manual, please go to that, because I have done that for you on in your system there. I have your minute already prepared for you so that you can just copy that over and over each year. So the designation of the housing allowance must be in the minute book prior to the beginning of the year, or right at the beginning of the year, under Section 107 of the Internal Revenue Code. The fourth component that I'd like to deal with today is that talks about the reimbursement. Now, we've already been through the fact that you cannot give a car allowance, a house, a book allowance, a gas allowance, a clothing allowance. All of that is not allowable now. The only allowance that's left now is housing allowance, and that has to be done in a separate check. Write a check for salary, and then write a check for housing allowance. That way you keep it off the 941 form for those new people that's coming in that don't know what they're doing. And we know that most of these people that hire in as bookkeepers are not bookkeepers. They're just what? We've learned that. What is the word? Say it to yourself. Say it among your group now. It is what? They are nothing but check writers. And they're good check writers. And we appreciate good check writers, especially when they're writing checks to keep the church's bills paid. Reimbursement under 162, 265, and 274 of the Internal Revenue Code is very clear. They want you to make sure that you have corporate minute on your reimbursement. Let's examine two aspects if we can. First of all, you understand that as you go through this, that we like to see the pastor have a church credit card, because all of the church expenses can go on the church credit card, and the church can pay that church credit card directly to whomever it may be, the card holder. Now, not to the card holder, but to the card company, the credit card company is what I meant to say and what I should have said. It's important for you to realize that in this corporate resolution, this corporate minutes that you have here, it's going to be about 4 or 5 pages. And in that, you need to make sure that you have everything in there that goes as a part of that. The page 191, it tells you very clearly that you have a meeting and you call the meeting, but it also goes down and it tells you very clearly in there that you are supposed to have a qualified reimbursement plan. On the next page, it tells you that these expenses must be substantiated for you to have a reimbursement. So let's examine two words. The word allowance is something that is before the fact. A reimbursement is something that is after the fact, right? So in this regard, let's examine this, okay? This is point number 4. This is number 4. And it says this: allowance is something that you pay out before it happens. We know you can't do that except for what? Housing allowance. And we know reimbursement is all those things that happen after the fact. So they have to be substantiated there. And guess what? You can even put in here the per diem or the mileage allowance if you want to. But this document is referred to as a reimbursement policy. Reimbursement policy. It's a corporate document, and it has to be in the minute book. I also want you to know this, that your pastor will find it a great benefit to have that, where that he doesn't have to bring that in daily, but allow him to bring it in monthly and write him one check and keep it out of his W-2. Remember, what you help make happen for someone else, God will make happen for you. Make it as easy, as convenient for the pastor and the pastoral staff as you can, because what you make happen for others, God will make happen for you. And knowing whatsoever good thing you do for another man, God will do the same thing for you. That's Ephesians 6:8. We call it E6:8. Until next time, this is Michael Chitwood, and I'll see you on Breaking Points.
Breaking Points gives you the latest IRS updates and tax law. Pastor, if the IRS came to your church today, what would you say? If you really want your house of worship in order, call 1-800-345-9117.